what are these different languages? So the first one to go over, HTML. HTML is the core language of the web. It is the primary language of the web. It is the only language that you absolutely need to build a web page. Majority of web pages will be built with multiple languages, but you could build a fully functioning website with just HTML. We did that for quite a few years, and there were many ways to do it, lots of different things you could do with it, and the sites were fine. Now, with time, we added JavaScript, and we added CSS, and we added PHP. When you look into the languages of the web, it's not unusual for HTML, JavaScript, and CSS to be referred to as the core languages of the web, but PHP is also an important one in there. It's often left out. Why? If we look at PHP, it was written before CSS was. CSS came from 1996. PHP came from, where'd it go? 1995. JavaScript was also 1995, but the very end of 1995. So it should be included in that regard. It was also one of the very first ones to be implemented. Another one that I've heard is that you don't necessarily need PHP to build a website, but if that's the case, you don't need JavaScript or CSS either. You can build a fully functioning website with just HTML, and it can look very beautiful, and it can do everything you need it to do. So that doesn't really work either. You have HTML, which is the core language. It's the only thing you actually need for a website. You have JavaScript, you have PHP, and you have CSS. HTML is not programming. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. You write it to essentially lay out the site, right? And you write your content in HTML. The JavaScript and PHP, those are our two programming languages. The JavaScript is sent to the user's computer and it runs there. And JavaScript is actually programming, which allows us to create more dynamic content than we could do with HTML. PHP, on the other hand, is also a programming language, but it is run on the web server. So this is not sent to the user's computer. It is instead all run on the web server, and then what should be loaded as HTML gets sent to the client's computer as HTML, and the browser interprets it that way. Your web browser knows HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Your web browser does not know PHP. And the last language is CSS, Cascading Style Sheets. This is a style sheet language. It's not programming, but this is used to make websites beautiful. You don't actually need CSS to make websites beautiful. We did it quite extensively before CSS was widely used. CSS was written pretty early, not that long after the web became public, but people did not jump on board immediately. It took quite a while before it became popular. So the difference is that CSS makes creating beautiful websites much more efficient because you can create the way the website looks all in a separate file and update the whole website just by updating that file. Let me show you an example. This is probably the most common example used to demonstrate the power of CSS. What we have here is we have a website. It is all written, all the content is written in HTML. The appearance is all created in CSS. So what that allows us to do, and what people have done, is they have designed different layouts for this website and uploaded them here, and the creator of this website has allowed you to switch between them to see how effective just that change can be. So we can view all designs here. There's also a selection here. So if I click this, the way the whole website looks now has completely changed just by using a different CSS file. If I scroll down, we should find those choices again somewhere. There they are. If I click this one, totally different look just by changing the CSS. So hopefully that gives you a decent idea of what the web is and some of the technologies utilized. We'll look into some of those a little bit more as we move along.